have a good question for you guys.
Okay. So me and a buddy got in a 2-hour-long argument debate about this, and I want to hear it from you two, because there's going to be 3. No one of us will have the same amount of answers unless you guys both overpower me, and I'm just like, all right, on to the next.
I won't agree with Andrew. I can already tell you right now.
So we were talking about specifically like fantasy football, but it changed to like sports. So looking back at a career, so say your career was 10 years, would you rather in like your first couple years, but like not knowing it's going to happen, more like looking back on it, would you rather win, excuse me, 1 ring, never make the playoffs again, or looking back on your career, finish second place, like in the playoffs, like the championship game, lose it every year for 10 years? Because this motherfucker said he would rather be Joe Flacco than Allen Iverson, and it got me really heated, so I kind of expanded it, because like from like a competitor standpoint, it can be really quick. We don't have to get too far into this, but
no, my brain's already cooking. Keep going.
Yeah,
it's happening. We're in it.
We're in it. Okay, because my point was, because he was like, his argument was, if you're playing a sport, you want to be a winner. You want that ring, and I'm like, you're disproving your own point, because I want to be a winner, but I'd rather lose in the game that matters 10 times than be relevant once and then never make the playoffs again. So it was kind of like a back and forth. Like, I don't care about the
and this is honestly, the first thing I think of is like a lot of sports-based podcasts I listen to, and you hear athletes come on a lot. And one question that former athletes will always ask, like other former athletes, is like, so I'll give you a scenario. Like, say you had a 10-year career.
Yeah.
And the first year of your career, you're a rookie, and you go to the finals and you lose as a rookie. I feel like there's a lot of people that will say like, oh, in my first year of my career, when I lost in the finals, I was like, I say you're going to have a 10-year career. Like, I've got another 9 years. Like, I did it year 1. Like, but there's actually more of a chance that you'll never get back there again.
Yeah.
So I think that, I mean, it's tough to say. I think that a ring is important when you're an athlete, but I do agree that there's a level of like individual success that comes with being in the finals year after year after year, even if you don't find yourself successful.
Yeah.
But I think that, in my opinion, and based off of what I've heard from people who have played sports at the highest levels, like if you had the option to get a ring your very first year, but you'd never get one again, I think you have to take it.
Or even playoffs, so like not even like you're never even relevant again. Like your team's just ass the rest of your career.
I think that
okay, go ahead. Keep going.
I think that that's a really tough.
It's
right. The only way that you could even think about this is really looking back at it.
Yeah, because if you look
can
forward,
never look forward, because you always think you have another chance.
Right.
Looking back at it, I also think it depends on what sport, because a sport like basketball is a little different, where when you have, it's starting to change now, but for the past like decade or so, if you had one of the top 3 players in basketball on your team, you were going to be successful every year to an extent.
Yeah.
Whereas like you look at the Sabres, like you could be Jack Eichel. You should be a top 10 forward in the NHL, but your team is so bad that it's not your fault. So I think if you would ask a guy like Jack Eichel what he would want to do, he would probably want sustained success.
Yeah.
But if you asked a guy who
just won a ring,
he'd be
like, oh, I want my damn ring. Like, I would never want to take it away.
I never want to give this up.
Yeah.
I think it's got to be the playoffs option. One, I think the AI argument sells it. And I think that, just look at him and look at, Charles Barkley, look at Clyde Drexler. These are all NBA guys, but you know what I'm talking about. Even if you don't make it, even if you don't get the ring, right? People that know the game, people who play it, and fans have a ton of respect for people that can actually really fucking play.
Yeah.
Right? So you will get recognized. And if you go to the finals, you're that rookie year, but you actually win, that would suck, because you're probably not a huge part of that team. And then again, to think about it like you would only be looking at this in retrospect. If my one ring was from my rookie year and I played like a very small amount of minutes, I would kind of feel like a fraud. Like, I'm not saying that that's
like
the
a
way
bot.
people should
See,
feel,
but
yeah,
this is why
a
I
little
brought
bit.
up that sports argument, because I understand in basketball, but think about if you're a football player. I think if you're a football player, the ring is more important because, I mean, you're like, and I guess it also depends on what like player you are, like position and also like your role on the team. But I mean, you got 52 guys on an NFL roster. Like, a lot of those guys are only there for 1 to 3 seasons, and they only play X amount of snaps. If you would have offered one of those guys, if you would have said to one of those guys, you can play in the league for 10 years, you're going to win one ring, you're never going to make the playoffs other than that year, I'd say most football players would probably take it. But I think basketball different. But that also, again, comes down to your career as a whole is different. Like, I think if you overthink it, it's easy to find the argument. I still personally think that, I mean, I'll just break, not that it's at the same level, but like in my years of playing hockey, I've probably had, growing up, let's say I had 8 different opportunities to win a state championship. And then since I've been in college, like 4 different opportunities to win a conference championship. And I've never done any of it. And I think looking back at it as I'm in my last year, if I could go back and just one of those years, like reach that pinnacle, like win a state championship or like win a conference, you know what I mean? I think that I would take it just because I think my freshman year, I think like 3 out of my 4 years I played in the championship game and lost. And so that sucks ass. But but again, and that's looking back at it from my career, where I was there and I was so close, but I never got it. So I almost think that
It's like the grass is greener type thing.
yeah. So and so I think that even adds more to the argument. Like, if you were asking somebody that has the ring, but if you were asking somebody that has one ring but never had success after that, they might say, I would have rather had sustained success. But if you ask somebody that went to the finals 10 years and lost every time, they'd probably say, I just want that damn ring.
Yeah, like, my body hurts. I wish I had
dude,
a ring.
just give me the
like
fucking
that.
ring. So I think that I mean,
Which is hilarious because that all stemmed from a fantasy football argument, because the guy I was arguing with, we've had a league for like 10 years. He has 2 rings. I have 1 ring. I've been to the finals like 6 times. He's only been there twice, and he's won them both. Which fills your point exactly. Actually, no, it doesn't. It does the opposite. No. Well, I mean, it doesn't really matter. But I'm sticking because I was like, because he's like, I'm better. I have more rings. Like, just like typical, dudes.
Just trash talk.
Right.
Yeah, just trash
Andrew
talking.
sucks at fantasy football, so don't even look over there.
I won 1 season, and that's all I needed. I still have the trophy because nobody's come to take it from me. I think 2 people have won since I won it, but
Fantasy football.
I love fantasy football. It's so funny.
Me too. And then it adds a little different like spice to the argument too, because you're still getting paid out as a second place in fantasy football.
Yeah.